Right. Last but not least, we have our financial diva, Lelemba. Lelemba is a financial educator, social entrepreneur, keynote speaker, and financial writer. She is the co-founder of the Sandras and Lelemba Institute that is dedicated to research, education, and supporting individual organizations and communities in its pursuit for growth. Lelemba has consulted with private, public, and government organizations.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Well, I would like to thank Gwen for the opportunity to stand before you, and I would like to thank you for the chance as well. I think it's been a splendid evening. I've been very inspired by the other two speakers, and I think Gwen and the other two speakers deserve a round of applause. My name is Lelemba. I was born in Zambia. I have two really extraordinary parents. My mother was an extraordinary entrepreneur, although she had very little tertiary education. She was a secretary by profession, but she left formal employment when she was 35 and started several businesses. Like, she ran successful nursery schools, stationery shops, she had a security firm, she had a fish farm, so she had ideas all the time and was putting them into practice. My dad, on the other hand, was a scholar, and he loved school, and between them, they really stressed the importance of a good education to us. And so I credit a lot of who I am today to that wonderful combination of parents. So growing up, because both my parents left formal employment very early, my dad left formal employment at 37 to run his own management consulting job. I grew up around businesses and money and seeing how things work around business and money. And so my mother passed away, unfortunately, when I was 16. And my dad remarried very quickly. That posed a problem. And things went a little bit sour between us. I was 16, I was rebelling. And that was the year before my metric. And so the whole of my metric year, I had issues at home. I just couldn't wait to get out of home, actually. After that, I couldn't live with them, and I was drifting between relative to relative, being moved along. Oh no, I think we're tired of her, you take her. Oh, we're tired, you take her. And because of the sour relationships, I didn't have a lot of financial support from my dad. And so I had to work through tertiary school to put myself through school. It was hard, trying to balance all that together, and I was still very young, and I had to be really creative. But luckily, because of my foundation growing up around entrepreneurs, I always had an eye open for money-making opportunities. Like, I'll do stuff like go into the markets. I was a posh girl in school, and I wasn't supposed to be seen in those markets. So I would obviously disguise myself, put in headscarf, be in tracksuits, like really look plain, get into the markets, buy clothes, and none of the posh girls should be found in that market. I'd bring them back into school and resell them at a profit. And because I was posh, people didn't suspect I got them from the market, and nobody even asked me, so. And that's how I put myself through school. Sometimes I had to break off for a whole 6 months just to work so I could raise money. And at the end of the day, it's something that I really appreciated, because by the age of 25, I was a full CA, articles and everything done, because I'd broken off so many times to fill in my time with work. And I felt like I was on top of the world. I was very ambitious, and about that time, I met my gorgeous husband, Sandras, over there. And we were very similar, very ambitious, very driven, and we were out to conquer the world. And between us, he had an IT business and an entertainment business. I was still in clothing and food. And between us, in 2 years, we tripled the sizes of our businesses. And that is the importance of a good partnership, whether it's a husband and wife relationship or a good business partner. And we wanted more. So we said, what are we going to do now? Let's get out of Zambia. It's too small for us. So we thought about where we were going to go. We thought Europe is too far, we've got kids, and we appreciated the fact that we grew up around extended family, and we wanted our children to know our families. And so we thought, okay, South Africa is the nearest place. It's the biggest economy in Africa. It's 20 times as big as Zambia, so it meant more money, more things to learn, more opportunities and stuff like that. So we quit our promising corporate jobs, nice and naive, and we said we're getting up and we're going to South Africa. Sold everything, and we had to leave our kids for the first 6 months with my parents. And so in that time, I had like 1 foot in Zambia, 1 foot in South Africa, traveling back and forth a lot to see the kids. And we had enough money to last us a year, but because it was a new place, we were so excited. The lights, you know. And comparatively, we couldn't believe how cheap things were here. So everything, oh my gosh, it's only 30 bucks, let's get it. We totally went off the plan. And money that was supposed to last 12 months lasted 5. So now we were in Cape Town, living in a shared house. We were actually renting a Wendy at the back of the house. And originally when we looked for the accommodation, when the lady said, oh, I do have a room, but it's a Wendy. I asked, what's a Wendy? And she said, it's a wooden house. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's great, like log cabin accommodation. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Oh, log cabin accommodation, that's fantastic. Then when we came down and we were telling everybody, like we live in a Wendy, and we'd get frowns and, what's wrong with living in a Wendy? So here we are, we were in Cape Town. No source of income yet, because we had been busy partying and spending money. We were looking for jobs, but not that seriously. And at that point, at our lowest point, I actually remember that we had 347 rands in the bank. Our weekly rent was 500 bucks. So we couldn't even afford our weekly rent. And we were thinking it was stressful. We were arguing between ourselves, and sometimes we'd crack jokes and say, okay, so we're going to hike on a boat or something, get to Mozambique, then try and hike on road, by road and get to Zambia, you know, do anything we need to do just to get home. Because we definitely weren't calling my parents to say, oh, we're stuck. So luckily, lots of faith, lots of praying, that same week, Sanders got a job. And it was right at the end of the month, so he kind of got paid for 4 days, and that kept us through the following month.